Hello, I'm Suzanne Smith. Florida's tie to the history and myths surrounding Ponce de Leon captivated people long before the recent 500th anniversary of the explorer's arrival in Florida. Rick Kilby's book, Finding the Fountain of Youth, Ponce de Leon and Florida's Magical Waters, looks at how those stories have shaped the state's image. Kilby's book received the Bronze Award in Visual Arts category for the 2013 Florida Book Awards. He joins me now. Welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Okay, how did you get interested in this topic?
I think it was about 2008, and I was initially attracted to the kitschy side of the myth, finding roadside remnants of Ponce de Leon that were kind of lost. He was kind of like a celebrity endorser of the day in the middle 20th century, and then we moved away from that as our perspective changed and we started to see that he was responsible for the end of a lot of indigenous people. We moved away from using the conquistadors and the explorers as people to put their names on hotels and roadside attractions, but really started with a visit to the Fountain of Youth in St. Augustine.
Okay, so when you got to the Fountain of Youth in St. Augustine, what did you find? Did you find history, myth, or kitsch, or all of the above?
All of the above. The first thing that attracted me, I have to admit, was the kitsch. There's these incredible kind of wax figurines with some that are robotic, and there's a Native American who chops this log all day long, and it's wonderfully kitsch. But what I was surprised to find was real history. In fact, there's a historical marker outside that says there's probably no other site in Florida that has as much pre-colonial history as that site, because it was the ancient village of Saloy where the Timucuans lived. And when Pedro Menendez arrived in 1565, that's where he set up his first colony.
Well, what is the history part of the Fountain of Youth? Because there is a little bit of history tied to that, but what is that history and how did it become more of a myth?
Well, it's kind of like an archetype that goes way back to the ancient Greeks, and different cultures have a Fountain of Youth myth, including the Hindus. They have a myth about Amrita, which is the nectar of the gods, which makes you immortal if you drink it. And so it has Eurasian myths, and so all of Europe and all of Asia would have had some kind of myth about the Fountain of Youth. And as modern times came, when Ponce de Leon got here, he would have known about the myth of a Fountain of Youth, and somehow it got connected to him.
And when did people start connecting it to him as ways to sell Florida, or where did the kitsch become part of it?
Well, it first got connected to him because of politics. He was the governor of Puerto Rico, and Diego Columbus had a claim on Puerto Rico. And so one of the accounts written about Ponce de Leon was somebody who was a Diego Columbus proponent, and he wanted to make Ponce look bad. So he said he wandered around in vain trying to restore his youth from island to island and through Florida looking for this mythical Fountain of Youth to make him look bad. And that was a dusty account that was in the Spanish archives for years and years and years until Washington Irving discovered it and wrote about it in one of his books. And then it became part of the American psyche. And I think how it got connected with Florida, it was kind of like low-hanging fruit. It was an easy way to promote the state and to advertise the state, and it was simple, and it goes back as far as the 1880s, where there was a product called Florida Water that all its Victorian advertising had images of the Fountain of Youth.
Now this won the award for the visual arts. Where did you find all these very interesting pieces? It must have been very interesting to explore and find all this yourself.
Well, I've been a collector of this kind of ephemera since my grandmother gave me a lot of stuff that she collected on her trips to Florida, and then I just started adding to it from eBay, from antique stores, the state archives, different archives throughout the state, like the Tampa Bay Library, wherever I could find something that would support this narrative.
So you own most of those pieces that you ended up putting in there?
Yes, I'm afraid I'm a bit obsessive, and I still add to my collection, and I can't seem to stop, even though I don't need the book's already been published. But when I find an image that is perfect, I'll buy it, and then I'll scan it, and then I'll use it in my next presentation.
Well, what is your favorite one that you've found over the years, or is it possible to even have a favorite?
It's hard to pick one, but some of the kitschier images that I really loved that really inspired me was the citrus label of Ponce sticking his sword into an orange, and the orange juice squirts up into a goblet he's holding. And then there's another one that's an insurance ad where he's being chased by the insurance salesman, and the insurance salesman, Ponce responds to the insurance salesman by saying, "I don't need life insurance, I'm going to discover the Fountain of Youth." Stuff like that I think is classic, and the myth has become such a cultural cliche that you still find it in every sitcom and movies and popular culture today even.
Well, here's an interesting question with the 500th anniversary of Ponce de Leon's arrival. Has it all been a resurgence of all that now, or are you finding more new versions?
I actually am. The ironic thing is I started on this project before I even knew about the 500th anniversary, and it was synchronicity that led me on this path. But it was difficult to find accurate research back in 2008 and 2009. The closer we got to the anniversary, the more academic research came out. And I think where it seemed like Ponce, his image wasn't used at all, the more closer we got to 2013, the more you saw Ponce popping up. In fact, I went to a Viva 500 meeting and there were 7 Ponce reenactors.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much. Congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
The Florida Book Awards are presented annually to recognize, honor, and celebrate the best Florida literature. The program is coordinated by the Florida State University Libraries and co-sponsored by these groups that promote books by and for all Floridians.